Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Om, Shioham Om. Welcome to another Satsang with your host, Chuck the Yogi. Starting out 2021 with a big bang, let us continue with the Yoga Sutra. We're about to finish pada number 3. So, where was it? I believe it was 3.52. Kshana tat kramayoho samyamat vivekajam janam. Through constraint on the moment of time and its sequence, he obtains gnosis born of discernment. I did that one already. I remember now. 3.53. Jati lakshana deshair anyata anavachedat turyayos tataha pratipatihi. Thence arises the awareness of the difference between similars, which cannot normally be distinguished due to an indeterminateness of the distinctions of category, appearance, and position. It was one of the most technical sutras in the Yoga Sutra Patanjali. But basically what he's saying and understanding is, and what he's trying to convey, is that when a yogi achieves that level of discernment, yogi can understand and see this moment-to-moment action. Sometimes you may need to be under a certain altered state in order to get there. But a yogi will eventually experience, not just see, but experience time-space itself and the mechanics of time-space. And to the extent that a yogi can understand that, a yogi can understand anything and everything, because this construct is time-space. So it's really important for a yogi to understand time-space, or rather time-space geometry, in order to be able to move past it, right? Because that's the idea, that's the point of this whole thing, is to move past time-space. 3.54. Tarakam sarva vishayam sarvata vishayam akramam chaiti vivekajam janam. Gnosis born of discernment is the deliverer and is omni-objective, omni-temporal, and non-sequential. Boy, is that a mouthful. As small as it is, there's so many layers to this. What does he mean by that? The yogi merges with the observation. He merges with that understanding. And it is that merging that allows the yogi to escape space-time. Not necessarily physically, on a more subtle level, although a yogi can, and it's been known throughout history, decide that it's time to go. And he can just sit down and leave, right? But usually, a yogi may wait until this karma is reaped before it's time to go, but he achieves that liberation upon death. So, this is a very important sutra, and it shows what the purpose of this is as far as the whole entire Yoga Sutra. What is the yogi attempting to achieve? Anyway, so 3.55, and we'll be done with pada number 3. Sattva purushayoho shuddhi samye kavalyam iti. With the attainment of equality and purity of the sattva and the self, the aloneness of the power of seeing is established, finis. So, through this process of achieving a sattvic, continuous sattvic state of consciousness, the yogi is able to merge with this support, that which supports the space-time geometry, and by doing so is able to move past it, and move past this illusion, this construct that we call reality. So that ultimately is the purpose. This is the path. This is what yoga is. All this other stuff is just fluff or adornment. upon what yoga truly is about. So, Chapter 4, Kavalyapada. 4.1 Janmo Shadi Mantra Tapaha Samadhija Siddhayaha. The paranormal attainments are the result of birth, herbs, mantra, excesses, or ecstasy. So, on the one hand, Patanjali gives a caveat of the potential dangers of siddhis, but then on the other hand, he says, okay, this is the way you can achieve them. So they can be a necessary prelude to samadhi, but it basically what Patanjali says, don't put too much focus on these things. These things just happen as the yogi progresses on the path. And there's different ways of going about that, either through herbs, mantra recitation, and other ways of doing so that help achieve these siddhis, or what could be understood as powers or abilities, that sort of thing. 4.2 Jatyantara Parinamaha Prakriti Apurat. Transformation into another category of existence is possible because of the superabundance of the world ground. Boy, is that a mouthful. Basically, what that's saying is that there's this thing called infinity that surrounds us on all sides. Infinite energy, infinite everything. And so what the yogi does is simply tap into that, which allows for these things to happen, right? Because something can't come out of nothing. So the yogi taps into that infinite storage of possibility, which allows the yogi to achieve the abilities that the yogi does achieve as he moves along in the path. 4.3 Nimitam aprayo yakam prakritinam varana vedastu tataha kshetri kavat. The incidental cause does not initiate the process of evolution, but merely is responsible for the singling out of possibilities, like a farmer who irrigates a field by selecting appropriate pathways for the water. So what does that mean? This is a very technical way of saying that we all have certain parameters or degrees of freedom that we can take. There is no such thing as absolute freedom, not in the construct. Outside of the construct is a different issue altogether. We're only talking about what happens within the construct. Within the construct, there is no such thing as absolute freedom. What we do have are degrees of freedom. So basically what he's saying is that the construct has rules. Those rules cannot be violated. They can be bent, they can be twisted, they can be curved, but they cannot be violated, because otherwise the construct would disappear. So that's a very technical way of saying, like water that follows certain irrigation channels, and so forth. People have possibilities or degrees of freedom in the choices that they make throughout their life. And that has happened from the Big Bang onward. Everything that happens within certain parameters and follows certain patterns. Patterns. 4.4 Nirmana Chittani Asmita Mata. The individualized consciousness proceeds from the primary I amness. So again, we're going back to the Samkhya philosophy that understands that there's this primary Purusha, and from that primary Purusha, an individual is born within the construct to figure things out and do whatever the individualized form of consciousness wishes to figure out. And then when the time comes, boom, that individualized unit of consciousness, so to speak, moves out of the construct. Whatever happens out there is beyond words, but this is the process of evolution, involution, and so forth and so on. And this is the cycle, the karmic cycle, if you will, birth, death, rebirth, so forth and so on, until the individualized unit of consciousness figures a way out of the matrix out of the labyrinth. And again, matrix means mother. This is the womb, the matrix. This is the construct that we're in until we're ready to mature and move out. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Made a lot of progress today. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivam. Shivaham. Jai Ma. Jai Mahakal. Till next time.